In this video, we'll go over how to smooth your mug. So I have my mug sitting on the table and I'm going to use my hands to start smoothing the surface from the inside to the rim and then the outside. I'm going to use my hand to start smoothing. So I'm going to use my thumb and the longest part on my thumb to go back and forth in different directions. And my big goal here is to get rid of the big lumps or the bumps in my clay and not so much worrying about the cracks right now, but I want to make sure that the entire outside surface is really even and as flat as I can get it so that I can build my expression on top of an even surface. So as I'm smoothing the outside, I'm supporting the inside of my mug. So you should leave your mug sitting as much as possible. And I'm supporting with my hand on the inside. Now I'm lifting mine up so that you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. We are going to have to go back and forth in different directions to gently start to smooth out that surface. If I push too hard, I'm going to end up pinching my clay. And if I don't get a smooth surface, then I'm going to be able to see those bumps in my clay forever after it's fired. Once I'm finished smoothing, I want to make sure that I'm looking at the top of my mug and then it's staying nice and rounded. Now I can start to also smooth with what's called a rib. There's a rubber rib and wooden ribs, and they all just work in a little bit different way. I start with the rubber rib on the outside. I'm going to support the inside of my mug and gently scrape the rib across the clay in two different directions, just like you were with your hand. This can help even out and smooth the surface a little bit easier than your hands. However, any tool you use on your clay is going to make a mark of some kind. So you'll still have to take your hands over the top to smooth it out in the end. Now I can use the rib to help smooth the inside of my mug as well. I like to use the smaller end of it, and I'm going to support the outside with one hand if I'm smoothing the inside. I'm going to go back in with my hand too to touch anything up. The wooden ribs can be used in the same way. They're just a little bit different shape depending on where you're working with your clay. I'm going to continue smoothing the inside and the outside with my hand. Again, I'm supporting the outside as I smooth the inside. I really want to make sure I spend a lot of time smoothing because it'll be easier to do now rather than later. Now I'm going to smooth the rim of my mug as well. So instead of worrying about it being uneven right away, I'm going to smooth what I can first with my hand. So I'm supporting the wall of my mug with one hand while I smooth with the other. So I go back and forth between using my thumb and then my fingers on the side to work around any extra clay that's there to fill in any lower spots so that it all becomes a little bit more even. Now I'm going to take a look and see how my top of the mug looks, and if I need to flatten it, I can use a clay knife to cut some off the top. I can use a metal tool to cut some off the top as well, which is what I like to do. I have more support with this tool as I hold the side and just shave away a little bit at a time from the top, making sure I don't take away too much at one time, and it's harder to work backwards like that. I have a handle added onto my clay mug, so that is something I need to go back and smooth throughout the entire process as well. When the clay is really wet, it can be hard to go back and smooth that without feeling like it is going to collapse or it's just not strong enough yet. So I smooth the handle a little bit, let it dry as I keep working around other parts, and always come back to this space. So I'm supporting my handle as much as I can when I smooth, and I have that wet paper towel in there just to support the inside, but can remove it once I need to get into the inside of the handle. I don't want to forget about that part or underneath my handle. I need to always come back and keep smoothing that surface. I can also use a tool to get into an area to help me smooth if my fingers can't reach. But then I want to make sure I go back in with my hand to smooth up any areas it might affect on my clay. Once I've spent a lot of time smoothing, I'm going to still use my wet paper towel for support in my handle, and that's something I can keep in overnight when I wrap my clay airtight as well. I want to leave that in there until I feel like my handle is strong enough to start drying out on its own. I'm going to just make sure to double check that my clay is staying circular and everything is still smooth.